icareheal's all-in-one doctor app and web platform. So now I'll introduce you to our speaker, Mr. Dileep. He is an engineer with 30 plus of professional experience. He is the co-founder of HealtheLife Ventures. HealtheLife is a healthcare startup building a person-centric EHR standards-based healthcare information platform. Now, we'll have a poll to understand how many of you are known to SNOMED CT. As we can see, most of the people are not aware about the SNOMED CT. So this webinar is going to be very beneficial and informative for those who understand the SNOMED CT. Let's get started. Now I'm gonna hand it over to Mr. Dileep to take forward the webinar.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon. A warm welcome on a Sunday afternoon. It's been great, and thank you all for taking time to join during a Sunday afternoon. Okay, so I understand how important you feel about understanding about SNOMED CT and all. So what I plan to do in this the next 20 minutes is to briefly introduce the context of our discussion. Okay, so and then I'll cover the digital health, overall what is happening in digital health and what is the future of digital health, in India. And then I'll introduce you to two important concepts related to digital health. One is our National Digital Health Mission, which has been inaugurated by our Prime Minister 6 months back, and then it's actively being implemented across the nation. And then I'll also introduce the Indian EHR standards. These two will give you a context of why SNOMED CT and coding of data is important. Then we can briefly go to and talk more about coding of data, okay, and why it is important, what are the advantages and things like that. And then I'll briefly take you through how SNOMED CT is actually implemented in action. Okay, how simple it is for clinicians to use, provided the application is built with support for SNOMED CT. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, yeah, next slide, Nikunj. Next slide, Nikunj. Okay, so the one before this, yeah. Okay. So let me just briefly introduce digital health. Okay, future of healthcare in India is going to be increasingly digitally driven. Okay, and there is a general term that is used to explain this, which is digital health. Because as a country with vast areas and people in rural areas, we realize that only through use of digital tools we are able to actually provide healthcare to all the Indian citizens. So healthcare in India is increasingly going digital, especially with things like COVID and all. I'm sure all of you would have experienced this change where a lot of digital tools are helping the doctors in delivery of care, because physical contact is becoming more and more of a problem area. Okay, so what does it include? Okay, so primarily it's about technology enabled doctor. That means enabling the doctors with technology so that they can deliver care from anywhere, anytime. Okay, so like you could be sitting in the city and could be delivering service to a village. Okay, or you could be anytime you could be sitting at home and then there's an urgent requirement and you are able to actually deliver care. Okay, so all this is made possible through digital tools. Okay, so and then another aspect of digital health is data-driven tools that support doctors deliver better outcomes. So when you try to deliver care from a distance, it is very important that you need support from digital tools, because patient is not in front of you. So you need remote monitoring devices. You need clinical information about the patient, history of the patient. All this information has to be available to the doctor who is sitting far away. Okay. So, and then there will be digitally driven tools that will help give support to the doctor to understand more about the patient and then deliver care. Okay. And government is going big time in creating this infrastructure, which is going to actually help doctors and, and technology providers to build tools and integrate them. Two major things that government is initiatives that the government is actually doing is, one is the National Digital Health Mission, which through which we are trying to create a unique health ID for every patient, and there is a unique identification for doctors. There will be a central registry of doctors where every doctor is identified, every patient is identified through the health ID, and then the digi doctor is where we identify every doctor. And then there is also a registry for all the healthcare institutions, and all this is is driven through a patient consent. Information that is shared between these, all this is managed through a patient consent. All this is part of the NDHM network. And then we have the EHR standards, because when you talk about a national level network to share clinical information, okay, and remotely giving care, the information has to be in a proper way, okay, so that information can be understood while a doctor is sitting remotely and accessing this information. So we have defined our EHR standards, that is electronic health record standards for the way we should collect and distribute clinical information, so that everybody understands what is meant by a doctor making those notes. Okay, so these are the two key important things that we will cover. Okay, for this, all of this, we need new digital solutions. Okay, so like icareheal is trying to create, we're going to need more and more of such newer digital solutions to actually drive this digital health going forward. Yeah, next slide, Nikunj. Okay, I'll try to briefly introduce through the National Digital Health Mission. This is actually a network for sharing clinical data across the nation. Okay, so this is essentially that is what that National Digital Health Mission is. What NDHM is doing is actually trying to implement the National Digital Health Blueprint, which is actually a Niti Aayog document which came out in 2016, which outlined a digital infrastructure for clinical information sharing across the nation. Okay, so government is creating this national infrastructure for sharing clinical data through NDHM in a mission mode. Okay, so it's already being rolled out across the union territories, and over the next 6 months, it will start getting rolled out across the nation. Once it is fully in place, you will be able to send and receive clinical information from anywhere in India to any other part of India. Okay, so in that government will implement registry of patients, where the health ID is created, and there will be a registry of healthcare professionals where there's a unique ID for every doctor, every healthcare professional, every nurse will be created, so that they can be uniquely identified across the nation. And every service provider also gets an ID. Okay. All the information sharing will happen through patient consent, and this is also going to be managed by the NDHM network. Okay. Through this, what the government is trying to do is to create a lifelong health history of every citizen, Indian citizen. That means when a patient comes to you for care, you will be able to get all the previous history to actually enable better care delivery. Okay, and all this is being moving towards a data-driven healthcare, which is expected to deliver better outcomes. Okay. Next slide. Okay. So this is a brief stacked view of how the National Digital Health Blueprint and is envisaged. So there will be some common national level infrastructure, and there will be some state level infrastructure, and there will be local infrastructures. Local infrastructures, by which I mean application providers like icareheal and hospital information systems. That is where the actual care happens. Okay, and there will be some level of information that is centralized at the state level, and there will be the health IDs and all be centralized at the national level. So a patient visits one hospital, that is a patient visit one, PT visit one. And then what happens is that visit is registered with the state level infrastructure. Okay, HealthTech it is registered. Okay, and the information is available there. Now, when the patient visits another hospital, HIS2 or another system for a second visit, they can actually request the national registry here. Okay, health information exchange to say that I want information of this patient from the previous visit, and then that information is sent to the state level infrastructure, and from there the information will be shared to the HIS2. Okay, so this is the way the National Digital Health Mission is being put together. Once this is in place, like I said, you could actually be sending information from sitting in Delhi to a doctor sitting in Trivandrum, or vice versa. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Next, Nikunj. Okay, now to enable something like National Digital Health Mission, okay, one is we need the common infrastructure at a national level to enable this to happen, and secondly, the information itself has to be standard. That everybody should be gathering information as per standard, so that when information comes from Delhi to Trivandrum, the doctor sitting in Trivandrum should be able to exactly understand what the doctor in Delhi created, what is the information that was entered, and what was the intent of the doctor. Okay, so this is very important in a clinical setting. So this is what we call a semantic interoperability. Okay, so to ensure that we have we have come out with Indian EHR standards, which again in 2016 current version was released in 2016, and we keep releasing new updates as we mature the standards. Okay, so the understanding is that patient clinical data is crucial. Okay, especially when you are talking about digital healthcare, digital health infrastructure, and the data should be machine computable. That means through computers it should be able to exchange, and the computer should be able to process it and give support to the doctor. Okay, it could be things like clinical decision support, or highlighting some key data that the doctor should be aware of, or comparing if there's a drug interaction, if there are allergies, automatically giving warning to the doctors. All this is possible if the data is standard and computable. Okay, through this we want to build a lifelong health healthcare for a patient. 80 plus years, you should be able to give care with information, with the backing of information. All this is expected to be achieved through coding of data. Okay, so that the data is understood across. Okay, so what are we trying to do? One is we need to improve the computability of information. Okay, so everybody is able to interpret the data unambiguously. Okay, and analyze about the details. Semantic interoperability, information should be exchangeable and understandable fully. Okay, that is what is semantic interoperability. And with all this, we should be able to create 80 plus years. We should be able to give care for people 80 plus years of people's life with their past health history supporting the doctors. Okay, this will also support evidence-based evolution of EHR data. Okay, see, EHR healthcare, as you all agree, is an evidence-based science. So data is critical to making it even better and better. Okay, thank you. Next, Nikunj. So now that we have understood what is the context, okay, why do we need a digital infrastructure? What is the future? And then why do we need to have coding of data? Okay, this is crucial to what is what is coming, what is being implemented from a digital health initiative across the nation. So for coding, when we come to coding, okay, the world's premier terminology that is used for coding of data is SNOMED CT. Okay, so this whole talk going forward is about SNOMED CT, and then now that we have set the context, SNOMED CT stands for Systematic Nomenclature for Medicine Clinical Terms. Okay, now this is owned and maintained, distributed by a non-profit organization in UK called SNOMED International. It is the most comprehensive and multilingual clinical health terminology in the world now. Okay. It's got a rich vocabulary to describe clinical findings, diseases, procedures, medication. In fact, it covers almost every aspect of healthcare. Okay. It contains approximately 4.5 lakh concepts and 1.3 million descriptions, okay, about these concepts, and more than 2.5 million relationships between these concepts. So it's not just a list of terms. It is a complex relationship between these concepts, which is explaining the whole healthcare information domain. In computer language, we call it ontological library. That means we are trying to explain a real life scenario using terms that are understood by the computers. Okay, so through SNOMED CT, one is we achieve like semantic interoperability, and we make that data computable. Okay. This is used to code, retrieve, and analyze clinical data. This is primarily what SNOMED CT is. Please, next slide, please. So in India, what is happening in India? Why is it significant in India? Because in Indian EHR standard, SNOMED CT has been identified as a coding standard for India. Okay, and it is a national ontology for healthcare in India. Luckily for us, it is free for use in India because Indian government has done a great job. They've gone and licensed it for the entire nation. That means all doctors and hospitals do not have to pay for licensing it. Otherwise, there's an expensive terminology, and it would have been difficult for Indian hospitals and doctors to adopt it. But now government has licensed it for the entire nation, so everybody is free to use it. Okay, and government has also set up an organization called NRCS, National Research Center for e-health services. This is based out of Pune, and it is managed by CDAC Pune and funded by the Ministry of Health, Central Government Ministry of Health. They help you. One is they help you adopt. Second is they create Indian extensions, Indian drug codes, and local language translations as extensions to the SNOMED CT. Okay, so what we get from international is from SNOMED International is is an international terminology, and NRCS extends it for the Indian requirement with our own language translations and drug codes and all that. And this is used to explain everything in healthcare unambiguously. Okay, just a question of myocardial infraction. Okay, when you say on the right side, the image is explaining how SNOMED CT identifies that particular term. It talks about where it occurs, where that the problem occurs, and what is the morphology, associated morphology, and then all the other synonyms and things like that. Okay, that explain that same concept. Yeah, please, next slide, please.
I'd like to make an announcement. If anyone is having any of the doubts or something, they can send it.
So what are the benefits of SNOMED CT? Okay. It records clinical information, high levels of specificity. That means you can actually find the appropriate term to explain the concept that you're trying to record. Okay. So as you go details, you will understand more about it. Okay. And it improves sharing of information across care settings, because the term, every term has got a code associated, and using the code, people can actually understand what that means. And then you always have a standard. Everybody has got access to SNOMED CT, so everybody is able to understand what it means. Okay. It also helps you receive coded electronic data such as discharge summaries from others, because again, you will also understand everybody uses a common terminology for explanation. Okay. It also enables you to aggregate data across care settings. So from different places, you can bring together data and look at the holistic data of the patient. And this will also help you in quality outcomes analysis and things like that. It also reduces the need to repeat health history at every visit time, because you record it once, or you get it from another place where it has been recorded, and it comes in digital form, it comes coded, so you fully understand it. Okay, you do not have to rely on accuracy of the patient's knowledge. Every time, you don't have to ask the patient to explain all the past history to you, because it is available in electronic form. Patient history can flow electronically across facilities without need to re-enter data. Okay, everything becomes electronic, everything becomes understandable by everybody else. Okay. Next slide, please. What are the clinical benefits? Okay, so those are general business kind of benefits. From a clinician's perspective, if you look at it, okay, what are your benefits? Okay, you are able to do a detailed and appropriate capture of clinical information because you can always find the right term. Okay, and your software systems like icareheal and all would give you that interface for you to actually record it very easily. We will be showing some of those screens as well as we go forward. You will be able to achieve continuity of care for a patient across care settings and locations. Okay, so people may actually be, in Calcutta, and then they may actually get transferred to Bombay, Mumbai for some job-related things, but the care can continue because information can go from Calcutta to the new doctor in Mumbai, and and the treatment can continue. Okay, you'll be able to better understand past history and reduce the risk of incorrect interpretation. Okay, because everything again is coded, everything is can be understood as it is recorded. It helps reduce medical errors. Okay, again same reasons. It also improves your clinical efficiency because your data entry can become much simpler. You don't have to type everything. Okay, so once we get to the SNOMED CT in action, you will understand how easy it is for you to actually use SNOMED CT to code your data. So with you'll be able to become more efficient in your in your clinical practice, at the same time being able to record more accurately as well. Okay, so it also will help you in assist you in identifying patients. Okay, suppose you have a practice running and you have data and you want to be able to identify patients that match certain clinical criteria. Okay, with coded data, it becomes much more easier for you to do that analysis. Okay, it also helps developers such as icareheal to create tools like clinical decision support systems and all, which will actually be helpful to the doctor at the point of care, because computers can give highlight key issues, give some warnings and advices to the doctors, such as allergy, past allergy reactions, drug to drug interactions, okay, drug overdose, all these kind of things machines can start doing provided the data is computable. Okay, please go ahead. Next. So if you look at the primary practice, because I think we are primarily dealing in this webinar is more about primary practice. So I have identified some hierarchies that are available in SNOMED CT. It has got more than 20 hierarchies, but I have identified some of the key ones that are important in a primary practice. So it has got terms for clinical findings, procedures, body structure, organisms, substances, pharmaceutical, biological product. This is where all the medicines and both generic and packaged medicines come. Specimens and social context, okay, of the person. Yeah, and then a lot of qualifier values that that explain a lot of these findings in more detail, such as severity, accuracy, and things like that. Okay, so clinical findings part also includes both what the patient says and what the diagnosis of the doctor is. So all these terms, all these hierarchies can be used in practice for you to actually exactly capture the right information. Yeah. Next slide, please. So with all this talk, I would have, I'm sure you would have probably understood the advantages of using SNOMED CT. Okay, now let's see how to use SNOMED CT. Okay, as I said before, it's going to be pretty simple. It's not, you don't have to know SNOMED CT as a practicing doctor. You don't have to know SNOMED CT because tools like icareheal and other new technology solutions that are coming out do all the hard work for you. Okay, like I've seen on the left side, I've seen this the screen. This is a screen, create diagnosis, a screen from one such application. Okay, and when you type, okay, you just have to just type first 3 or 4 letters of each word in the string that you want to you're looking for, and automatically you will get a list of drop downs. Okay, as you type, this drop down automatically can be reduced. okay, are fine tuned so that you are able to find the appropriate word. Okay, so you don't have to know SNOMED CT code. You don't have to know about SNOMED CT. Everything is like, is taken care by the technology tools that you are using. Okay, and you get a, like, a set of terms, and you can pick up what you feel is most appropriate in your practice. Okay, so you could pick up any of these. So there may be acute myocardial infraction you may want to record, okay, instead of just that. Okay, or it could be a subsequent myocardial infraction. It could be a second occurrence. So in which case you can probably pick this as a, like, as a term that you want to use. Okay, or maybe somebody else myocarditis due to influenza virus. Okay, so it could be like, it could be anything. So you are able to, instead of just saying heart attack, what I'm saying, trying to say, you can exactly make it more accurate, more specific, the information that you want to gather. And once you pick this, what happens is at the back end, the systems can automatically pick up the SNOMED CT code. So you can see how it is recorded. Okay, the second screenshot talks about how it is recorded. So myocardial infraction is what you picked up. So there is this code, okay, 222-98006. That is the SNOMED CT code, which is explaining myocardial infraction. So this is automatically picked up from the back end and put into your data. So you don't have to know this code, okay? You do your, when as usual, you just type what you want to actually record. System will give you options for you to pick up. So it increases your efficiency. It makes your recording information very accurate, because chance of spelling mistakes are reduced. Okay, and you are able to pick up the specific value that you want to actually record. And the systems take care of all the hard work of coding for you. Okay, yeah. Go ahead, next slide, please. So when you record this, okay, now what happens? Okay, so this is a screenshot of a browser, SNOMED CT browser. Okay, so as you can see, you recorded myocardial infraction. Okay, is what you recorded. But there are so many other terms. Somebody could have recorded heart attack. Somebody could have recorded a cardiac infraction. Okay, myocardial infarct. All these are what we call synonyms. They all represent the same term. So the same code is applicable to all of these terms. So you could be recording myocardial infarction, or somebody else could be just recording heart attack. Okay, but both mean the same. So that is why, like, same code is used at the back end. Okay, and then they're like, all of this, there are a lot of child, more specific, terms that you could have used if you wanted to use. And also, like, certain hierarchy, which is, like, very useful in your analysis. Okay, so tomorrow you could be, like, trying to analyze, get a list of patients with heart disease, okay, or myocardial disease, okay, and this will also appear. Okay, so, or you could be looking for ischemic heart disease patients. Again, this will start appearing. Okay, you could also be looking for terms myocardial necrosis, people with myocardial necrosis, and you could still find it. So it's a very complex terminology system at the back end, which will enable you to have rich information that you can gather out of your coded data. Okay, yeah. Go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we have seen how to record diagnosis. Now this is a screen, another sample screen, where we are actually prescribing a medicine. Okay, here again, okay, so we have, like, as part of the SNOMED CT terminology, National Resource Center has created an Indian drug extension. Okay, so we have, like, packaged drugs and generic medicines in it. So your system could allow you to either do generic medicines or the branded medicines. Okay, so, like, again, you just type and you start seeing a drop down of what you want to record. You can pick what is required, and the code is automatically put in and put inside. Okay. Similarly, on the right side, okay, this is also a generic screen. Unfortunately, I didn't have a branded screen to use branded medicine, but something like Acrosip 250 mg tab is actually a branded medicine. Okay, now you could actually be typing that, and then, like, you could get the available options for you to pick from. Okay, so that's how you can actually do prescription, and then you can give more information about timing details and all that. Yeah. Yeah. Next, please. So again, this is a picture of what it means. Okay, we have actually chosen amoxapine. Okay, in the previous screen. Now you can see how complex that that data is. Okay, there is so much of relationship for that product with different kinds of things. Okay, it talks about presentation strength, active ingredient. Okay, presentation strength is in it's a tablet. Okay, it is like it's a plays the role of a antidepressant. Okay, so much of information. So once you code, your IT systems will also be able to give you all this information. Okay, if you want to know more about this medicine and how they are connected with other terms, you can actually use this to view more information about the drugs. All this is made possible by SNOMED CT. Okay, it's all built in internally, so you don't have to do anything extra. You just have to use the code while prescribing, and all this information will become available to you. Okay, next screen, please. Okay, suppose you would have chosen Acrosip 250 mg tablet, a similar view. Okay, here this will also tell you from this, it's a little small, but you will be able to figure out what is the generic component of Acrosip. All this information is also available, okay, to you. So when you are picking a packaged medicine, if you want to know about more information about the ingredients of the medicine and all that, all this is like available, given to you by SNOMED CT. So you don't have to by heart all of this. Okay, all this is like by using SNOMED CT, all this becomes available to you. Okay. Next slide, please.
Thanks a lot, everyone, for patiently listening right now. And now we'll have a poll again, and then we'll move to the next phase of the webinar. So as we can see, the maximum people are writing on paper, pencil, EMRs things, and they are not using the electronic prescription and the electronic mode. However, going into the future, we can see how the technology is evolving and how the data that should be structured and keeping the health records in the form of paper is too it's not that viable and it's not that easy. But having a EMR system, it makes it easier for having health records. And also integrated with SNOMED CT, it makes the life of a doctor easy. Okay, now I'll show you the whole, I'll show how icareheal has integrated SNOMED CT with their application, and we'll have a virtual demo about the product. So this is the page from where the doctor can log in. This is the calendar that the doctor is going to see. This is a consolidated calendar where he can see the consultations that has been and the appointments done by the patients. And this is at one place he can see all the consultations and appointments. These are color coded for him to easily differentiate between the appointments. And yeah, now I'll show how to make an appointment. So we can see this is a small card that is opening here. The doctor can join and start the consultation right now and can expand to see the details of the patient. So here we can see the details of the patient, and here we can now join now. Here we can see the overview of the patient, like the health history, the social history, the allergies, and other family histories. So it would make the consultation for the doctor very easy, so that he can understand his history, and the understanding about the EHR would make it easier for him to consult the patient. He can also view the previous health records, and now he can make a new one. We have two modes of medical records. One is the pen and paper one, in which the person can easily upload the pen and paper prescription here. And other one is the electronic one, where he can write or where he can fill in all the details very easily, and then he can submit it. Now I'll show how a prescription can be made using this tool. Now, like let's say we go for a symptoms, and here I can type. So as you can see, as I type stomach, it came with the different options in the select box here, and you can select any of the ones you want, and then like it's own CT integrated here. So here I added 3 symptoms here. Now you can also enter the vital records, and as vital records can be updated regularly, so we can also enter the time here. Now, if you want, you can write a notes about the patient, and you can also make it the part of the prescription, and it's an optional. If you want to make it the part of the prescription, you can check the checkbox, and else you can keep it unchecked. So the diagnosis is also integrated in SNOMED CT, and here he can just enter the few initials of the diagnosis, and then he can get this here, and then he can select it. If any lab test has been conducted, that can also be inserted here. And at the last, we can have the medications, the medicines, with the quantity and the frequency and the how long the patient has to take it. We can add here both the generic ones and the branded ones. Now, after the completion of the medical record, you can submit and review the prescription that has been made here. The lab test and the clinical notes and the medications that has been written. And now on submitting it, this is going to get saved, and the copy is going, and the prescription is going to get mailed to the patient. You can see here, the prescription has been made here with all the details that I've entered before, and the details of the patient is also there, and the medications is also there. As I have unchecked the notes section, the notes section is not visible yet. Now we'll go back and we'll discuss the other benefits of SNOMED CT terminology, and I'll hand it over to Dileep V.S.
Yep. Thank you, Nikunj.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just now.
Yeah, so just to continue with what we were discussing, okay, SNOMED CT, we showed how prescription can be recorded and how diagnosis and and symptoms can be recorded, and Nikunj demonstrated how the implementation in an icareheal is, which allows you to do all that. Now there are more areas where SNOMED CT is capable of coding of data, enabling coding of data. Okay, some of those I will just briefly discuss for your knowledge. Like for example, recording allergies. Again, same thing. I've identified the hierarchies that before. So again, you could have a screen for recording allergies, and then you type like you can see like what I have. I've like how I have typed the allergy screen. You don't. It doesn't have to be even in the order that you actually that the actual term is. Okay, so you want to say shell and allergy, and then you get allergy to shellfish as an option to select. Okay, so it becomes coded. It becomes so easy for you to enter data. Like so again, family history. Okay, like you just have to again you can get all the problems as part of the family history and procedures. Okay, like list of procedures can be used in the procedure summary recording. All this will become part of the history of the patient. Okay, so these are all areas where SNOMED CT can be further used to code your data. Okay, next slide, Nikunj. Okay, what is the future? Okay, going forward, what is happening in SNOMED CT in India? Like I said, NRCS, government has funded the National Resource Center for for supporting the Indian practitioners with more and more SNOMED CT extensions and things like that. So, what are some of the important things that are happening? Interesting things from a practitioner's perspective. Indian drug codes. Okay, we never had a uniform drug code for medicines in India, and this is going to now happen. This already started happening. We have a drug extension for SNOMED, already available as you've seen in my demonstration and what Niku just shown. So this gives you a uniform code for Indian drugs. Any drug that is prescribed, if you use SNOMED CT, whoever is prescribing same code will actually get recorded. Okay, so it becomes universal for the nation. It's already covering around 7,000 generics and 20,000 branded medicines as of now. And as we speak, it is numbers are growing. Another interesting development that is actually happening is Ayush extensions. Okay, because in India there are apart from the allopathy practice, we also have our traditional medicines, and then the international terminology doesn't have anything connected to the Indian traditional medicines. Okay, so we are developing our own extension for like Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani. Already we have the first version has been released by NRCS. It includes around 3,000 plus terms covering Ayurveda, Siddha, and Unani, and these are also available in case like somebody is practicing any of these medicines. Okay, these terms are also available, and again over a period we will see more and more coverage. The idea is to try and standardize clinical terminology across the nation for all these practices. Like as anybody practicing Ayurveda would have known, there are there are different terms. There is a different though sounding very similar Malayalam term, there is Tamil, there is like Andhra, there are different terms, and then like of course the base Sanskrit terms are available. So this effort is to kind of make it universal, make the terms universal and identify the synonyms, so that like somebody practicing in Delhi and the information gathered is interoperable with somebody practicing in Trivandrum. Okay. We also have an extension of geographical locations, explaining villages and districts and states, etc. These are the concepts in the nation, with around 8,000 terms now. So when you are recording like something about which includes a geographical location, you could use these, so that again there is a national level code for that. Okay, patient instructions in Indian language, because India, like as you would all agree, like we've got multiple languages, and a lot of people are not English aware. So you want to give them instructions in their language. Okay, so the first set of instructions in Hindi are available now. Over a period, more and more more languages will actually get added. We also have a COVID-19 extension because COVID brought many new clinical terms into into healthcare, and NRCS and the SNOMED International were quick to turn around and release an extension which covers the SNOMED CT SNOMED CT terms for COVID related treatments. Okay, so these are all quite interesting things. As you can see, it is growing, and it is growing to cover more and more areas and very relevant to you. Okay, so if you start adopting SNOMED CT, all these are going to become a big advantage for you as we go forward. Yeah, thank you. That's Nikunj, that was, I think, end of my.
Thanks a lot, sir, for your time, and you gave such an immense and such a good about SNOMED CT, and so much. It was so much beneficial for doctors and the product itself. And yeah, now we'll take our webinar forward. Before that, we'll have a poll again. So please take your time and attend the poll and fill out the answers. As most of the people think that it's beneficial, and it is actually beneficial, as it makes their life easy for a doctor to have a contact with patients and all. So yeah, next we'll move. Now I'll tell about the product more and how you can delight your patients at every touch point with icareheal. So icareheal provides a website builder where a doctor can make his own website, and it will have appointment booking feature in that. So for a patient, he can book slots, available slots put by the doctor on the website itself. The website is mobile responsive and SEO friendly, and it increase the online presence of the doctor itself. Now we can have a video where you can understand how a website can be built in 5 minutes. Okay, before moving forward, we have some questions in the Q&A. So there's a question from Priyanka Arora. If I want to upload paper and pencil and type my own symptoms and diagnosis, will I be able to do so? So I'll let Vikrant answer this.
Thank you, Nikunj, and thank you, Dileep, for the excellent walk through the SNOMED CT ecosystem. So if I understood the question correctly from one of our attendees, it is that if a pen and paper can be utilized for uploading prescription on icareheal website, right, Nikunj?
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, that is it.
Okay, so yeah, I would be happy to answer that. See, icareheal provides you a platform wherein we have well understood, the ecosystem under which currently the doctors are operating, and we also understand the preference and convenience of the doctors, and we have taken those at the forefront when we have developed the system. So we have enabled use of both paper and pencil, with which currently the doctors are more familiar, and to help them graduate to an electronic environment, and help them have records electronically. We are also enabling them to create electronic medical records. So yes, we are offering best of both worlds. We are offering both pen and paper option, wherein a doctor can write the prescription and click it and upload it on the system. The difference is that it will not remain a paper, and it becomes a PDF and remains in the electronic format for future use as well, and the data is not lost. And electronic record keeping is also there, so that and we have made it very convenient for the doctors. And I'm sure that once doctors start using the electronic mode, they would definitely start preferring that mode, because when you are in an integrated video consultation, when you are consulting a patient, and you are listening to their symptoms and all, our system allows you to start creating the electronic prescription side by side while the video is on or the chat is on, and you can create the prescription and note down all the symptoms, diagnosis, medications that is required, and lab tests which you recommend. And you can create, maybe initially you may take some time, but over the time the results will be really wonderful, and it will help you immensely in creating those documents and easily and seamlessly sending it to your patients. So I hope I've answered the question.
Thanks a lot, Vikrant, for such a detailed answer. Now I'll take the second question. That is from Dr. Raghu Rao. He's an eye surgeon. He's asking, is there specialty branch of medicine, example, ENT? This question is for Dileep, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So the way this is handled in SNOMED CT is what we call okay. These are see, there is a special lookup list that you create. Okay, I forgot. I'm sorry, I forgot the actual term for it. So ophthalmology related terms, collection of those are like available as part of the larger this thing. And then you have like this particular collection. So if you limit your search to that collection, you get ophthalmology related terms alone. Okay, so while it can be just accessed through any search generally, it can also be accessed very specific to a field of care, a specialization. These are available as part of SNOMED CT. These are called reference sets. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, now I got. So the reference sets are created for different kind of practices. So I'm sure there is one for ophthalmology as well, but I have to confirm that.
I hope Dr. Raghu has been answered. And if you still have any doubt, you can ask here, which you may know. There is another doubt from okay. Now we move forward, and after the website building, now the doctor is gonna have consultation. So there are multiple modes for consultation. Doctor can have in clinic, in person, and then he can have a video or a call based consultation mode. And all the consultation that he is doing, and he can side by side also note down the prescription, and that would be saved in the EHR. and that will be saved in the patient profile. So the doctor can easily see patient profile and manage and follow up them on a regular basis also. So now we have a look at the unifying patient healing journey through video. We have one more question from Mr. Dileep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the question is, how frequent is data updation in SNOMED CT terminology, looking at India as a country?
Yeah, so there are two aspects to it. Okay, one is the international terminology service. This is updated every 6 months. Every 6 months, we have an update release from the international SNOMED.
Yeah.
Okay. So where there are like more and more terms getting added, and some terms getting refined further and all that. And then all the Indian extensions obviously will follow. One as it follows that 6-month plan. Whenever an international release happens, Indian extension also gets updated to that release. Okay, so that is a minimal thing happen more. But what often happens is Indian extensions, because they are early, many of the ones get released more often, maybe even as as frequent as two to 3 months. Okay, so it's a very evolving and dynamic terminology service. Okay. And
I hope
yeah, and you can also contribute. See, it's not that okay, so you can join and give your feedback. So suppose that some terms are not available, some are missing. As a person, as a practitioner, you can go to SNOMED International. You can actually there are places where you can give your feedback, and then they will have an editorial team which will consider this and if found appropriate, they will include in a subsequent release as well.
Okay, I hope the attendee got his answer. And yes, now we have again a question from Mr. Ravinder. He's asking, how will the data be entered? Will it be integrated with Aadhaar card or the UID number?
Yeah, so I've kind of explained in the chat as we'll see. One is UID. Aadhaar number cannot be used as of now because of Supreme Court ruling till our personal data protection law is in place. So what NDHM is doing is it is creating a UID, a health ID. We call it the health ID. This is a unique health ID for an Indian citizen, and it is being managed at the national level. and every provider is expected to use this ID once it becomes available. So the patient can actually present their ID to the healthcare practitioner or the provider, and they're expected to record all the data in the context of that ID. Okay, so using this ID, you can actually unify health records of a person from across different sources. Okay, so Aadhaar is currently not, well, you're not supposed to use Aadhaar as per Supreme Court ruling.
Okay, I hope Ravindra got answer. Now we'll move forward and I'll explain about the patient app that icareheal has. So yeah, there is a patient app for all the patients. The patient can see their health profile and see all the day-to-day health profiles like the heart rate, the blood pressure, and also the previous records also. So this would be like easy for them to monitor themselves also and for the doctor also. From the app, they can also book the appointment directly with the doctors from the available slots, and they can like pay for the consultancy fees can be paid using the secure payment gateway that the icareheal has integrated. We also have digital health records. The previous health records by this can be managed by the doctors, and patients can see them, and the doctors can also see them. And then there are different modes of virtual consultation as previously mentioned, the call one and the video call one and the LTS. So these consultation modes can be done by the patient app. Okay, now we'll have the last poll of our day. Thank you everyone for attending this. And now we have a question from Ravinder. It's about privacy of the data between doctor and patient. Will it be secure?
Yeah. Shall I take it or?
Yeah, I guess you can take it. I guess it's related to.
Yeah. So there are multiple aspects of security here. One is like the systems, IT systems like icareheal would be implementing security mechanisms to make sure that the data is is kept private and and all that. Privacy is ensured. And then you have sharing when the data is shared with another provider. Okay, how it is done. So the way NDHM, National Digital Health Mission, and the Indian standards are doing is that like everything is based on a patient consent. Okay, so it's very similar to the European GDPR. The patient has to consent to the data being shared. So the privacy is being managed, using patient consent. So if the patient can actually decide to share what information. It is not that they say you have to share all the information. If patient doesn't want to share a particular piece of information, like if a history of their mental sickness, if they don't want to share, they have an option. They can say, don't share this information. And if they say, no, this information will not be shared. Okay. So patient ultimately is expected to have full control over the privacy of his or her data. Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it answers. And he's asking us.
Thank you, Dileep.
Yeah, take it, Sunil.
That was really good. Nice insight over there. And so icareheal as an organization being responsible and is being taking care of the healthcare data on the platform will take every care in terms of government guidelines and NDHF guidelines to make the data secure. As Dileep rightly mentioned, this will be data which will be available to stakeholders at the consent of the patient, which holds the ultimate authority on data, its own data, his or her own data. However, as a company, icareheal, is taking all the care. It will take the 256-bit encryption that is required to maintain data secure. Also, icareheal will be hosted on, one of the safest cloud solutions, which ultimately takes care of data security. So to answer the question, yes, the data will be secure and safe, and accordingly it will be managed as per the NDHM and government guidelines.
Thanks a lot, Grant, for answering and telling more about the security. As it's a perspective that people want to know about. This next question is, what would be the legal liability of the doctor if it is going to breach? So what we have here.
Do you want me to take that question?
Yeah, you can take it.
Okay, so see, India, things are evolving in India. Okay, India currently doesn't have a personal data protection law. Okay, so this was the reason, like, why Aadhaar, the Supreme Court stopped, restricted the use of Aadhaar. Okay, so since then, Supreme Court, established a committee called under Justice Sri Krishna Commission, and they came out with a report on how personal data should be managed in India. So based on which we have a act which is actually currently under consideration in the Parliament called Personal Data Protection Act. This is still being debated. There's a Parliament committee which is looking at it, and it is expected to be passed, anytime soon. And once that is passed, that will be the baseline for the legal recourse that will define how, legally what is allowed and what is not allowed. Okay, and it will also specify the penalties and punishments for breach. Okay, so that is the ultimate act that will happen. But that said, healthcare already has certain guidelines in place. NDHM, for example, has got a data management policy. It is publicly available on their website, and it tells you how your data is managed when it is shared through NDHM. Okay, so there is a lot of privacy and and security being taken into consideration while doing it. And once NDHM falls in place, everybody has to share data through NDHM. And if any system is is breaching any of those data protection guidelines, NDHM will penalize them, and the patient or the doctor can approach NDHM authorities and then highlight the issue, and it will be addressed. It will be taken care of. So there is a lot of legal guidelines which are going to fall in place over the next 6 to 12 months, which will actually clearly define. But we always have the Electronic Data Act, MeitY Electronic Data Act, which is already there, but it doesn't specify in very detail about personal data. Okay, that is a fundamental problem. But any breach, any electronic breach of data, if you suspect that somebody has misused the data, you can still take recourse to the existing Data Act from Electronic Ministry of Electronics, and you can go to cyber cells in your local police and then report the issue, and they will address that.
Okay? Great. Yeah, great. It's like everything that goes is going to the NDHM thing, and then it goes from the various layers, and from various layers it will be protected. And then if any breach happens, it will happen. There will be multiple sources where you can even complain. Thanks a lot, Dileep, for having such having you was really great, and you spending time here. And thanks a lot for that. Thanks a lot for other panelists also as well.
Yeah, welcome, Nikunj, and thank you, icareheal, for giving me this opportunity. And thanks, my great thanks to all the attendees for taking time and being with us. Okay, have a nice week.
Thank you, Dileep. Thank you, all the doctors. Thank you for your esteemed presence and time that you gave for this webinar. I hope there has been learnings, and we'll be getting in touch with you all, those who have expressed willingness. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.